Good afternoon from San Francisco. We're in Studio B at the Beach Street Yacht Club as usual in San Francisco's beautiful Marina District, about 3 blocks away from the St. Francis Yacht Club. It's kind of a rainy, crummy day outside, Julia.
Off and on.
Off and on. Is it going to get better?
It's going to be the same.
I hope. You know, somebody's...
Till tomorrow.
Till tomorrow?
Yeah.
Well, we shall see. Co-host Julia Vatican, Commodore of the Beach Street Yacht Club. Today is the anniversary of the founding of the BSYC.
Right.
In 2016. This is next year is going to be our 10th anniversary. We're going to have a big deal next year, Julia.
Yes, indeed.
A big deal on our 10th anniversary. I'm your host, Tom Eamon. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. And here is what is on tap for today. Happy Tuesday. And Saint Something's Day. Swivens, I never heard of that. Or is it Happy April Fool's Day? And by the way, is it apostrophe S or is it S apostrophe? It's, I think, S apostrophe, and that graphic is wrong. The graphic department.
Yep.
Europe and Great Britain are now on summertime, but Chile, Australia, and New Zealand have locked the clocks. One hears they are not going to change off summertime, off daylight savings time. You look askance at that.
I think that's fine.
Well, just remember what day this is, so you never know about what's going on in this show today. Sign of the times today, the Tesla takedown came, Julia, right out. You don't know what happened this morning outside here.
No.
At the Beach Street Yacht Club. Well, you'll see soon enough in a moment. Coaching Corner. John Emmett, believe it or not, is back in Shanghai. Maybe not. Maybe he filmed it around the corner from his house, and it's an April Fool's joke, too. I don't know. But you'll see in his video, he says he's in Shanghai.
Yes.
So, what do you know?
And where's...
What? And where's... Who? His wife?
His wife, yeah.
The Golden Lily?
The Golden Lily.
One never knows. AC38 Cup date. Auckland, as you probably all know, is out. That deal did not, as we've been telling you for weeks, it was not going to happen. And I have a major one here's for you about venues.
Oh, good.
Teams, and more. And also the Cup is in for a mani-pedi. She's going in for a mani-pedi and a complete clean and a re-engraving.
Oh, is she?
According to Magnus the Magnificent. Also, today, a nice wrap-up to the Hansa and Para Worlds being hosted by the esteemed Royal Prince Alfred Yacht Club. They did a fantastic job. We'll have that wrap for you. Sail GP, lots of tidbits from the teams and the league. We've got lots of other news around the sailing world, including in the last leg of Fosy Focus as the Kentucky Ferries go green. And maybe a video of what is maybe the best April Fool's joke ever.
Really?
Yeah, at least the April Fool's video. And Julia, I don't know if you remember, I had to go back and look. Have we ever had an April Fool's Day show?
No, I don't think so.
We did once.
Yeah.
I had to go back and see what April Fool's Days in the past 10 years have fallen on a Tuesday or Friday. And we did one time. And that video I played back in that show that I'm about to show I will show at the end in the last leg. So that's our show today, number 821. We're at the starting line, and we'll have Day in History. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, fantastic Fosy chat.
Yes.
And more. Speaking of the chat, we should see who's in the chat room here. But before we do that, I think I'll cover this next topic, which is that, in fact, Europe now, almost a month after we went on summertime, now Europe is on summertime. Clocks across the majority of the European countries sprang forward by 1 hour on Sunday morning as the continent moves to daylight savings time. Clocks in most European nations, including Germany, were advanced by 1 hour at 0100 Greenwich Mean Time to 0200 GMT, heralding longer evenings and brighter days. While some relish the additional daylight time others argue that the changes, including me, may disrupt sleep schedules. For example, the European Commission proposed a directive to end the twice-yearly clock changes across the European Union in 2018, but it has so far not seen any progress. Now,
Yeah.
Julia, do you know who this gentleman is?
Oh. No.
We've celebrated him on the show once before. That is George Hudson, born in Great Britain, ended up in New Zealand. And this gentleman is the father. He is credited with proposing modern-day daylight savings time, a bloody Brit who went to New Zealand. His shift work job gave him the leisure. He was an inspector of insects.
Mhm.
What do you call that? Entomologist? Come on, you went to Stanford. You're
Yes,
supposed to know these
yeah,
things.
entomologist.
Entomologist. There we go. Well done, Julia. And he is credited with coming up with the idea of value after hours daylight, hence daylight saving time. In 1895, he presented a paper to the Wellington Philosophical Society down in New Zealand proposing a 2-hour daylight saving shift.
Mm.
And after considerable interest was expressed in Christchurch, he followed up with an 1898 paper, and that got the ball rolling in New Zealand and also across the planet in various places. But I just want to say today, Julie, we have a Bravo Zulu, because there are countries that are finally coming to their senses and getting rid of this madness.
Yes.
In our case, the March Madness, and I'm not talking about basketball, but one hears that these 3 countries, Chile,
Yes.
Australia, and New Zealand, have locked the clock. There will be no time change this weekend in those 3 countries. They're going to leave their clocks on summertime, on daylight time. Do you believe that?
Yes. I think that's quite nice.
Are we saying his daylight savings proposal was actually an April Fool's joke? No, I'm not saying that, Stingray, but check it out. There's Stephen Frederick is on. Nice to have Stephen on for a change.
Hi, Stephen.
The April Fool's edition, daylight saving time, Julie Ahrens, thank you, not plural. And good day from temporarily sunny Plymouth, Michigan. Clark Chapin is saying, Peter Raftery. Hello, Peter. And on and on and on. But that's what one hears, that the clock is locked down under. Do you believe that, or is that an April Fool's joke, Julia?
No, I think they've been wanting to move towards that. I think it could be too.
I hope you're right. And here in the state, 63% of Americans support a national, permanent, year-round time. Yes. 37% give it the thumbs down. 63% give it the thumbs up. That is from the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, a survey they did in 2020. And of course, I don't care about the sleep per se. It doesn't bother me after all this flying around the world for the last 45 years.
Yes.
It's just why do it? You want to get out of work early? People get off work early and go sailing in the summertime or go golfing or whatever the hell you do, right?
If you have the luxury of calling your own time.
Well, you do. You can get out of work whenever you want, right?
I do, but I'm not on call 24 hours.
Well, it's just time to lock the clock. I think most people agree, and slowly but surely it's happening. You will see. There's some throughout this show. You can't believe everything you hear on today's show, Julia. It may or may not be true. But here's one that I think you'll find astonishing. Sign of the Times. We haven't done a Sign of the Times segment in a while. But as you probably know, those of you in the U.S. and maybe outside the U.S. know that over the past weekend, my beloved sainted sister Ruth's birthday on Saturday, well, that was a takedown Tesla day, or a Tesla takedown day, and there were protests at Tesla dealers. They're all upset at Elon Musk and the DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, and so on. But let's not get into the politics. These protests were going on all over the country, including in my home state, Julia.
Good heavens.
Of Michigan, in my hometown of Ann Arbor.
Wow.
And indeed, the Tesla takedown came to the Beach Street Yacht Club. I kid you not, this morning. You didn't hear this, did you, outside, the fuss?
No.
Here it is. I caught a little bit of it on tape. Tuesday morning here at the BSYC, the Beach Street Yacht Club. Looking outside here this morning, and there is a Tesla parked right out front under the tree with a Nazi swastika on it. I don't know who did that, but obviously not us. Ciao for now. You didn't do that, did you, Julia?
No.
Well, here's a close-up photo. I went down and got the photo. Look at that, right outside the Beach Street Yacht Club.
Oh.
And then the police came, Julia.
And ask you questions.
They knocked on the door. I didn't know about it until the police came and knocked, and they wanted to know if we had cameras, if I knew anything about it.
Yeah.
And they saw those, we have those
Yep.
cameras outside here because we have great security for the Studio B and
We
for
do.
the Commodore upstairs.
Yes.
And I said, no, I had no idea. And I actually had no idea until the police came and knocked on my door this morning. You didn't hear any of that.
I didn't.
Okay, well, the Tesla takedown came right here to the Beach Street Yacht Club this morning. And you didn't have anything to do with it. Obviously, you didn't roll yourself down the elevator and put a swastika on that car.
No.
Okay. Well, what are we celebrating today, Julia?
Fools.
No. Look at this. This is a holiday they celebrate here in San Francisco called Saint Stupid Day. I kid you not. It's an annual holiday. I'd never heard of it, but apparently they do get a parade and so on. Saint Stupid Day is a whimsical celebration held annually here in San Francisco, Baghdad by the Bay, some call it. The day bursts with absurdity as people don outlandish costumes and parade through the city. It's a lively event filled with music, confetti, and playful antics. Participants toss pennies, God only knows why, carry silly signs, and embrace the spirit of fun.
How can I be as old as I am and never seen
I've
that?
never heard of this either, but this is what's going on today in this city. I saw news reports of it. This is not a joke. Saint Stupid Day exists to mock the seriousness of daily life. It highlights the bond of shared silliness, uniting people through laughter and playful acts. Mm-hmm. The day encourages letting loose and enjoying moments without judgment.
Yay.
It promotes humor and creativity, allowing individuals to express their goofy side freely.
How nice.
How nice. So what are we doing on this day here in San Francisco?
We'll have to do something foolish.
We should have worn our bathrobes or something. I could have worn my nice New York Yacht Club plush,
yes,
really nice terry cloth bathrobe.
Yes.
And that people would have then known I was Croutonic. That's what's going on today, Julia. But of course, it is April Fool's Day. And the challenge for you all, as you've seen in the show promo and probably in the cover slides, is for you to discern what is correct and what is Croutonic in today's reportage, because there's a little of both. And I think you will be surprised, Julie, by some of the things you think are jokes that are true, and some other things that you think might be true that are really jokes. And they're drawn from across the world of sailing, not just here, but April Fool's Day. Happy April Fool's Day to all of you who are celebrating it. And if you're watching this show, you're going to have to
You're going to, whether you like it or not. Yeah.
Whether you like it or not. We are also celebrating, Julia, our FOSI. Everybody who supports the show by watching, by sending us texts, by sending us comments during the show. And of course, those of you who contribute via Patreon, they become patrons, patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated, for which we are entirely grateful and grateful too. Is Tom more obsessed with time changes during winter? I don't know.
It's the change.
It's the change. It's the ridiculousness. It takes me too long to figure out, Julia, how to change the clock in my car. Actually, it's not that hard.
It isn't.
And I usually don't even do it, but this time I did because I don't like driving around and have to look at my watch to see what time it is. So Josh Tozo checking in. Hello from sunny and getting warmer Newport, Rhode Island. Julia, Stephen Frederick thinks you look enchanted as usual.
Oh, Stephen.
Enchanting.
How nice.
I thought that your scarf matched the painting. I thought you wore it to match the Jim DeWitt painting behind me with that bridge. You look like the bridge around your neck.
I know.
Oh, it's cool. It's nice looking. Clark Chapin, I'll bet they can't agree on just how to lock the clock. We'll see. Leave people's property alone, Clay Embley is saying. Yes, that is true. Tesla takedown does not equal criminal vandalism. Well, it does if you're painting swastikas on people's cars, Clark.
And if you're paying for it.
Jody Shields, how ironic that the USA has a stupid day. And the comments are going on and on.
I think that's related to St. Swithin's Day.
And what is St. Swithin's Day?
I don't know.
I've never heard of that.
No, it's a
what?
It's a fun.
You brought it up.
Well, I don't know who St. Swithin's
Somebody
was
will
or is.
Google it for us. Get Clark or somebody to Google it, and we'll see what's going on. Gordon Smith is wondering if it's a national holiday. He is not a big fan of President Trump. I know that. Some great Sail GP ones out. Really? There's some Sail GP jokes? We'll see. FYI, daylight saving ends this weekend in New Zealand. It was extended by a week either side a few years ago. Richard Gladwell is asserting that it does end this weekend. Are you sure, Richard? I think that's a joke. I think you guys have decided not to end daylight time down under. We'll see. You never know with this show today what's really going on. Thanks for your support. Those of you who are patrons and keep our studio intact. We make additions from time to time thanks to your generosity. And we pay our streaming bills too, Julia, which always helps if we can pay our streaming bills and keep us on the air. America's Cup news, an AC38 Cup date. And the big news came out of Auckland yesterday in a post to their Facebook page and their Instagram page dated April 1st. Mm-hmm. So at first we were wondering if it was a joke, but this is not a joking matter. It's a very serious matter, as Richard Gladwell, and we're going to read some of his reportage on Sail World about this matter. No jokes today. It's April 2nd down in New Zealand, Gladwell is saying. Statement from Emirates Team New Zealand on Auckland hosting the 38th America's Cup. Since winning the 37th Cup in October last year, the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron and Emirates Team New Zealand have been intent on exploring the possibility of hosting intent on exploring, not intent on hosting it in New Zealand, been intent on exploring the possibility of hosting the 38th America's Cup in Auckland with the understanding it would take a combination of private backing, local government, as well as central government support to make it happen, but not at the expense of funding other priorities in the tough economic climate. In this time, the team have had comfort in the level of private support and have been working with Tataki Auckland Unlimited, which is the event promotion company in and around Auckland City, who have been proactively spearheading the bid. So it is with both disappointment and understanding to hear MBIE and central government, it's one of the ministries, and central government have decided not to back the 38th America's Cup in Auckland 2027. While the significant economic benefits of hosting the America's Cup and other major events are well proven, such as the asserted 1.03 billion euro of economic benefits in Barcelona, which works out to nearly 2 billion New Zealand dollars from the benefit in Barcelona 2024. We understand there are other priorities for the New Zealand government right now. So was the statement from ETNZ. We have been telling you this was not going to happen, that most of the other teams, the AC-37 teams, didn't want to do it down there.
Too far.
It was a stalking horse. There was more money on the table in Europe and the Middle East, or at least in the Middle East. So this has no surprise to us here at all, right, Julia?
Yeah, I know. I think it's sad. But
there are people, nonetheless, who thought it was an April Fool's joke. This was how it looked like on Insta yesterday, posted on the ETNZ Insta. You can see the April 1st right up there in the corner.
Right.
And people were thinking, well, this can't be a joke. They would not make a joke out of something so serious. And indeed, I'm pretty sure, and Richard Gladwell has confirmed
it's not a joke.
That it's not a joke. And he wrote a fine article in the last 24 hours. And the photojournalist that he is, some of these are his photos, in fact, a photo essay entitled America's Cup, Decision to Walk Away from Hosting, Widely Criticized. Widely criticized. So Grant Dalton has been very clever, and he's managed to just make it look like it's all the government's fault, when in fact, I think most of us think, at least I do, that he had very little intention of going back to Auckland. He had to do it to make it look good.
Yeah.
And now I think we have a better idea of why Jillian Williams also resigned. She knew this was coming down the pike. And she said, I'm not going to have a guts full of this as Commodore of the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron. I believe she was quite strongly in favor of it happening in New Zealand, or so one hears.
As she should have been.
Well, as you would have thought our entire committee or
Right.
board would have
Right.
all been, but apparently they were not. They were more supportive of whatever decision Mr. Dalton wanted to take.
Because then they don't have to worry about it.
So one hears.
Mm.
So some other photos and comments from Richard's superb article. First of all, a nice picture of the audience, of the crowd gathered over there on the North Shore looking out on the race course with the inactive volcano in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Contrary to claims by government ministers, Richard says, that New Zealand's $75 million was sought, Sail World, Richard has been told that the correct amount was around 40 to 50 million. I mean, excuse me, that's still a lot of money.
Yeah.
From the government, and 25 to 35 million from the Auckland City Council, with private money making up the balance.
Well, that's a lot of money for them.
That's a lot of money. It is.
But it's
Rangi Toto, I miss that. I miss that race course. That was a great couple of cups down there, 2000 and 2003.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we weren't there for the COVID Cup. They wouldn't let us go down there in 2021, right?
Right.
Right. So that's some Richard Gladwell's prose. He wrapped up by saying that discussions are taking place on whether America's Cup should be reorganized around a central world body. We've been telling you about that too.
Yeah.
With 2027 as a transition year, the 2021 America's Cup seems likely to be the last Auckland seas of the event. That is the COVID Cup. But this world governing central body, it ain't going to happen, folks.
Nope.
It's not permitted under the deed of gift. There's been a lot of money spent with lawyers. There's been a lot of discussion. It is all blue fairy madness, as we used to say in the hockey world back in Michigan. Have you heard that expression?
Not for a long time.
Blue fairy madness.
No.
The creation of an F1 style body to control the allocation of venues for the Cup and circuits for the AC40 class will inevitably raise event fees and accelerate the sport's European-centric drift, Richard says. New Zealand, with facilities that could host the America's Cup tomorrow, has walked away from it, never to be a repeated deal.
How sad.
And it is sad. And Julie Aarons is saying, leave Grant alone. Jillian Williams did not resign because of Cup. She don't add to the rumor mill, unnecessary and wrong. Well, Julie, sorry to say it, but I've got some firsthand information in that regard. Ed Worley, so RNZYS will take some more lumps with the NZ public. How much dollars will the yacht club get from TNZ? We don't know. Stingray says, and he's got, I didn't put it in the show, but Brad Butterworth said on New Zealand radio that the RNZYS should have chosen Auckland, full stop. And I think Brad Butterworth is exactly right. They could have worked out a deal. They should have worked out a deal. And of course, I have put my money where my mouth is in the past because I walked away from the Golden Gate Yacht Club as their vice commodore.
Right.
When Larry and Russell and the then commodore, Norbert Byron, agreed to let the Cup go to Bermuda. And I said, that's wrong. It should be here. We can do it. And if for some reason we can't do a deal here, we'll do a deal in San Diego or in Newport, Rhode Island, or tell me where.
But not
in Bermuda.
Yeah.
That's that article I've been reading from is Richard Gladwell's fine prose from sail-world.com. Least
that actually may have been the event that really changed everybody's sort of sight about it.
Which event? The Bermuda event.
Yeah.
Well, it was not correct. And this whole, the 2021, here's the problem if you're in Auckland. They have the COVID Cup, so nobody can come. So they don't get the big revenue upside. They win it nonetheless. The community, the town, the country supports them. That is the team and the yacht club. And then they take it away. And now without COVID, they run it in Barcelona. And now without COVID, they're going to run it in the Middle East, apparently. Gordon Smith says it's the least surprising news of the year. Yes, I agree it is. Rick Banderow says it's rumored that an indigenous American Indian once commented that changing the clock forward in the spring and back in the fall and call it progress is, that I think we used that on the show the other day, that the Indian, the American, Native American said back on the clock thing for a minute, it's only a white man who will cut off the bottom of the blanket and sew it onto the top and say you've extended it.
Yes.
Well, Julia, there's news, though. More news on venue. This is important news. And
All
this
right.
also is news broken by Sail-World, because when this thing broke down in New Zealand over the last 48 hours, once and for all, this is, again, this is Richard. I assume that this article in Sail-World is not, there's no byline. So I don't know who in the Sail-World orbit did this, but this has, I think, that it has a feel to it that it might be Gladwell as well.
Yeah.
And apparently, according to Sail-World America's Cup, Trump proclaims that the next America's Cup will be held at Mar-a-Lago in Florida.
What a good idea.
And here is the writing.
Yeah.
At least the opening 3 paragraphs of what is a long article. Palm Beach, Florida, in a stunning announcement that has rocked both the sailing and political worlds, President Donald Trump has proclaimed that the next America's Cup, the prestigious sailing competition dating back to 1851, will be held at his private club, Mar-a-Lago.
Mm-hmm.
Trump's proclamation follows the breaking news that the New Zealand government has declined to fund the 38th America's Cup, instead putting the funds towards the purchase of 2 new Cook Strait rail ferries, announced yesterday by Deputy Prime Minister Winston Peters. Standing at a gold-plated podium in front of a backdrop featuring yachts, eagles, and several inexplicably shirtless sailors, Trump declared, quote, "People have been saying for years that Mar-a-Lago is the perfect place for elite water sports, tremendous water, the best water." I think he should have said beautiful water.
Yeah.
That's his favorite word. Some say it's even wetter than the ocean. I don't know if this is Richard or who it was, or it was some fantastic stuff. Yeah, fantastic stuff. Yeah, I don't have to check the date, Greg Norman. It's up to all of you to figure out what is true and what is not in today's show, and we'll reveal all on Friday. But wait, there's more. While most sailing nations reacted with confusion and concern, Trump insisted international teams would flock to the event. Quote, "The Australians are coming. The British love it. Even the French said it's très magnifique." Mm-hmm. I think that's French for very legal. Very cool. The Mar-a-Lago America's Cup will reportedly include exclusive events, such as, how do you say that in the Cafefe Regatta? What the hell is that?
I don't know.
Cafefe. And the Stormy Spinnaker Sprint. VIP passes are rumored to come with lifetime memberships to the club and a coupon for 1 free Diet Coke. Construction crews have already begun preliminary work, although one was overheard saying, quote, "I thought I was here to build a new fountain. Now they want a yacht marina in the parking lot." There's the venue, at least the start-finish line, right off the golf clubhouse there. Mm-hmm. According to Trump insiders, the plan includes dredging a new Trump waterway from the Atlantic Ocean straight to Mar-a-Lago, to the swimming pool at Mar-a-Lago, which Trump described as, quote, "perfect for the high-speed foiling yachts. We just need to widen it a little."
Yeah.
A mock-up of the proposed start-finish area was released in a koi pond near the 9th hole of the Trump International Golf Club. But wait, Julia, there's more.
Oh.
You're going to like this one.
All right.
Do you know who that is? At the wheel? Come on, Julia. That's Melania.
Oh, that's Melania.
President Trump also signed a proclamation making Melania Trump the co-helm of the Women's America's Cup team to be sailed in the new Trump 40. And Barron Trump will co-helm the U.S. team at the Youth America's Cup. All in Mar-a-Lago. But wait, there's more. The co-helms of the American of the senior team will be Elon Musk and Donald Trump, Team USA's co-skippers, according to rumors we heard this morning, and confirmed by Sail-World. So, Julia? Julia Ahrens is still fighting with me about the RNZYS. Yes, it's April 1st, Bruce Nelson. Come on, guys. I told you got to separate the wheat from the chaff, the jokes from the serious stuff here. Well, he does have a 12-meter, yes. Mr. Trump, as you know, Julia, but way back when, back in 80, when Dennis brought the cup back in 87, there was the famous ticker tape parade in February
Oh,
of
yeah.
87 down Fifth Avenue, and it was cold as hell. And Dennis was there and his whole team, and some Macy's Day parades from the previous Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
including one of the Statue of Liberty, on which they rode. The mayor of San Diego, the late great mayor of New York, remember who that was? Ed Koch.
Oh, yeah.
Not to be confused with the Koch brothers, spelled the same way. Ed Koch.
Yeah.
And Donald Trump paid for the whole thing. And for his efforts, he has a half model. He has in his New York Trump Tower office, he has a half model of Stars and Stripes up there, right above the desk. I mean, good stuff.
Yep.
The almost perfect water. I hope Trump will declare Grant Dalton tariffs exempt. This thing Ray is saying. Oh my gosh. However, I do think a Concord agreement is possible with any member who resorts to the deed. I don't know about that. Bibles. Covfefe was a famous DJT tweet during, was it? Covfefe was a famous Trump tweet during his first presidency, Clark Chapin is saying.
Yeah. And Chris actually.
He was trying to spell coffee.
Yeah.
It was just a typo. I make those all the time when I don't tweet. I've never tweeted. Covfefe is a made-up word Trump used in his first term. Much ridicule on all sides. Chris actually agrees. Okay. Real people are getting hurt by this rumor mill. Julie Aarons, relax, Julie. Relax. New Zealand now knows how to win as an offshore defender and now can charge any amount to go anywhere. Will they overplay their hand? Yeah, we'll see. Trump card, it's gold with 5 aces on the stern. Look at all these comments.
Mm-hmm.
If immigrants are not permitted, then the Trump AC crew will have to be made up from the Sail GP Team USA. Gordon Smith, so far, I think that's the comment of the day.
Yeah.
We'll get Mike Buckley to help Trump and Musk, along with the rest of the team. Oh, my goodness gracious. Okay, well, here's the real news. And this is a one hears. You can judge this whether this is an April Fool's joke or not, but one hears that the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, as we've been reporting all along, not only will be the venue, yes, there's talk about Naples, the Bay of Naples. By the way, Sardinia is out. I'm reliably informed by several FOSI, including Mr. Dr. Andrew McIrvin, who spoke with the Commodore.
Yeah.
Of the Yacht Club Costa Smeralda, and it ain't happening there. And of course, we all know that Mr. Bertelli, Patrizio Bertelli, is in his bad health, and we all wish him well. But it's a serious situation health-wise. So we do hope that it could be in Italy. I think it would be fantastic in Naples. And there was a big article in Corriere dello Sport the other day. Thank you, several of you who sent me that link. It ain't going to happen in Greece. It ain't going to happen in Italy because the Middle East are sport washing, and especially the Saudis are going to buy this event just like they bought golf, the LIV, the Live Golf, which is, by the way, in trouble and is merging now back in with the PGA, it sounds like. But they are going to buy this event. It's going to be run in Jeddah in the Red Sea. Hopefully the Houthis will be not firing missiles at boats in the Red Sea, ships and so on. So the venue, but here's the real news. One hears from multiple sources, not multiple, but from several sources, that they will also fund, that is the Saudis, Great Britain, and New Zealand, both the British team. Remember, Sir Ben's team in Sail GP is Emirates GBR. Yeah, exactly, right. Julia. So that's that's no mystery. And for Mr. Dalton to take the event to there, he's going to say, hey, I got to have some money for my team as well as the venue fee, make this all happen. It'll be one big, as Trump would say, one big, beautiful bill, one big, beautiful deal, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it probably will be.
But look at the lower third here. You see where it says BRA. One
Brazil.
is also hearing this. You can take this as an April Fool's joke if you want, but one hears that Brazil is coming in, also funded by Middle Eastern interests. And remember who is sponsoring the Brazilian Sail GP team? Is Mubadala.
Oh, yeah.
Which is the sovereign wealth fund of Abu Dhabi. Mubadala is the sovereign wealth fund of Abu Dhabi, which is part of the Emirates, the UAE. So stand by, but this is hotting up, as we would say. Now, for the next piece of America's Cup news, Brexit's champ Ineos, he was a big pusher of Brexit, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, he is outraged at the EU over Trump's tariffs against the car business. He says this is what happens when politicians sit on their hands. This according to Car Scoops. Mm. Do you think that's a made-up website, or do you think this is real? Well, you guys are going to have to figure this out. I'll tell you on Friday what is correct and what is Croutonic. This is the CEO for Sir Jim Ratcliffe saying that it's life and death. These tariffs are life and death for their company. And the boss of Jim Ratcliffe's car company blames Brussels for provoking Donald Trump into imposing a 25% import duty on the automotive sector. And they're saying it's going to kill that car company that Ineos Grenadier has been, trumpeting all about.
Never mind what's happened in the past.
Well, this is what's happening now if there is a 25% tariff on cars coming into the U.S. from Europe.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a bit of news, if you believe it. If you don't think that's a made-up joke by that Car Scoop, or it was actually, this article was in the Times today. So the Times of London. Do you believe it, Julia?
Yeah.
Anyway, it doesn't bode well for Sir Jim's efforts continuing in the next America's Cup, in my never so humble opinion. And then finally, the last bit of big America's Cup news is that the Cup, as I said at the top of the show, is going in for a mani-pedi. It's going to go in and get cleaned up. And this was reported yesterday by one who would know, because he knows everything inside that's going on in the Cup, Magnus the Magnificent, our super Fozy, who's getting over COVID. It's a long, slow recovery, he says. But the America's Cup is going back to Garrards of London, where it was cast back in 1848. The trophy to be sent back to the London jeweler and silversmith for a significant update. Magnus is reporting on his blog, because as we all know, we pointed out on this show many times, there were a lot of engraving errors. And Magnus says, and it's here where the mistakes crept in. The first inscription says 100 Guinea Cup, when we all know it was the 100-pound Challenge Cup, or the 100-pound Cup. And Bob Fisher, the late great Bob Fisher, has confirmed that. I have confirmed that. Stephen Suchia, the great historian and chairman of the America's Cup Hall of Fame and Selection Committee, and others have confirmed that it should never been inscribed as the 100 Guinea Cup. And those of you who are Brits and beyond will know that a guinea and a pound are different, slightly different currency. 1 pound, 1 shilling, actually, for a guinea. But that's what's inscribed on one of the voluminous bulbs, where, in fact, the trophy was always supposed to be the Royal Yacht Squadron 100-pound Challenge Cup, because in those days you named trophies after the amount, what they cost. So that was the 100-pound Cup, because it cost 100 pounds from Garrards of London, which was real money in 1848.
Yeah.
And it was bought by, somebody will tell us, and then by the Marquis de Anglesey, and donated. And it was on the trophy case on a shelf in the Royal Yacht Squadron. And when they finally got shamed into Racing America in August of 1851, they said, well, we'll put this 100-pound cup up as the trophy. Yeah. And they did. But it's, regardless, go ahead.
It looks much more ornate for some reason to me than it usually does.
Well, go get a close-up look of this nice painting here in Studio B. It's pretty ornate, don't you think?
It is.
So Magnus is reporting thus, and he also points out that today, in barely legible script due to the over-polishing, are the curious names of some 13 finishers: Volante, Aero, Alarm, Mona, Bacante, Freak, Eclipse, Beatrice. I haven't practiced these names ever, so I hope I'm not making a hash of them. Or too much of a hash. Wyvern, Ione, Constance, Gypsy, Queen, and the Brilliant. The problem is the Aero ran aground at Rockin' End, And along with Alarm, who stood by, they retired from the race, and both boats scuttled back around the eastern reaches of the Isle of Wight to return to Cowes, never to finish the course. Nonetheless, they're inscribed on the cup, or so Magnus is telling us. And I'm sure because there's some other problems with it, too. There's some spelling errors and so on. In fact, Luna Rossa is misspelled on the trophy. Did you know that?
Mm-mm.
Why would Luna Rossa be on the trophy?
As the
Because they were the challenger.
The challenger.
In what year?
80.
2000.
Oh, 2000.
Yeah,
that was our year.
Was that Cup 2000 in Auckland?
Yeah.
So it's going back to Gerrard's, which still exists, the Queen's Jeweler, the King's Jeweler, there in the West End in London. And the trophy will return to London in its LV travel case, having been assessed on site at the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron over the past few weeks. Quote, Gerrard came back with a detailed plan using the latest electro-rolling replating techniques, which will effectively dip the famous old trophy back into silver, getting rid of the original inscriptions and creating a blank canvas that we can work from and ensure that anything inscribed is correct, not Croutonic. So nice to see. Most of you, I think, would agree that it's nice to see that the cup is getting updated. That courtesy of Magnus the Magnificent, Super Fuzzy Magnus Wheatley, in his Rule 69 blog on Substack. Now, I got a lot of reaction to this when this got posted late last night, I guess, on his blog post. And here's one email I got. I won't tell you who it's from. But hi, Tom. Interesting indeed. I have been gathering research on the history of the trophy for the past couple of years, and I'm willing to bet that no one on the planet knows more about it than I do. I also know a fair bit about a few other trophies, notably the Stanley Cup and the Claret Jug for the Open Golf Championship. Neither the NHL champion nor the champion golfer of the year receives the original trophy for their sport. In both cases, the winner receives a presentation trophy, a replica, while the originals remain safely locked away. Removing all the engraving from the original 1848 ewer is a jaw-droppingly stupid and disrespectful idea. I'm attaching the article, and he did, to the email he sent me. The article I submitted to Seahorse for the February 2025 issue, points 9 and 10, and deal with the engraving of the America's Cup. I'll be happy to share information and opinions on your show if you wish.
I was thinking that was true, too, when I was just listening
You think it's a bad idea?
Yeah.
Well, there's some fair few people who do. This is not the only reaction that I've had. Negative to this.
I mean, it makes it more interesting and more valuable in that sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
It does. But I mean, it's just one more line in the story of the oldest trophy in international sports.
Yeah. It's no longer the oldest. It's been refurbished.
So it would no longer be the oldest. Well, it was created in 1848. They're just going to buff it out and re-engrave it. You don't know whether this is true or not, do you? Huh? Good night, Tom, Julia, and Fozy. Just back from an early 100-kilometer bike ride to join you for your April Fool's party. Well, could be, but that person is not amused. I won't tell you who it is because, well, for obvious reasons, maybe down the road on Friday. But there is the oldest trophy in international sport ensconced in the Louis Vuitton case. And it is indeed time to fix the oldest trophy in international sport that dates from 1848. And apparently that is going to happen at Gerrard's of London, if you believe Magnus the Magnificent and his post. Don't like this. Cancel AC history move. Amy Bridge is not in favor either. She agrees with you, Julia.
Yeah.
Stingray, my neighbor down the lake, has a fancy red Tesla X. Have not seen it in a while. It may be hidden from me in their garage. Okay. Oh, we're all over the map today, but it is our special April Fool's edition. And we're asking you to assess the stories as we go through. Are they correct or Croutonic? There are some of both. Some things that are surprisingly correct and some other things that you may or may not find surprising that they're Croutonic. Claire Harrington says she fully supports the effort. Time to get the record straight. So she's glad that RNZ have sent the trophy back to get it buffed up and buffed out. I mean, at the Golden Gate Yacht Club, the only thing we did when we won the trophy in 2010 and then defended it in 2013, there was some engraving down on the bottom that Alinghi had done in bigger font, bigger typeface. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
And a lot of people were not amused. So what we did, because it's a layer cake and it was down in the second or third tier, I can't remember. We spun that around to the back because it's all held together by a bolt.
Yeah.
You ease the bolt a little bit, spin it around to the back so that you couldn't see Alinghi's bigger font when they won the cup in 2003, and they used bigger font for their engraving.
I remember seeing that. Yeah.
I mean, that's not correct. I mean, it's a good reason to go have it polished off, right? And re-engraved or not?
That's a better reason.
You think so?
Yeah.
Will Gerard's also fit foils to the cup? Chris Fury, good comment. Mark Holland says, don't re-engrave it, don't fix it, just turn it to the back. Well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
This is maybe we'll have an update on this on Friday as well, Julia. Okay, turning to follow-up from our story on
Royal Prince Albert.
The last couple of shows, we've been covering the Hansa, I think it's called in Australia. We call it Hansa. I do anyway. At the Royal Prince Alfred Yacht Club there in Pittwater in Newport in Australia, and they have been superb hosts for the Hansa and the Para World Championship, Sailing Championships 2025 at the Royal Prince Alfred, the Alfreds as it's known down there, and they had a hugely successful event that wrapped up on, I believe, Sunday. And Rob McClellan, the Commodore of that fantastic club, was among the many from his club to roll up the sleeves and pitch in. The final words belong to him. This from Sail World. Quote, the 2025 Hansa World Championships have been sailed, and it's fair to say this has been one of the most memorable and meaningful weeks in the life of the Royal Prince Alfred. Pittwater delivered challenging, world-class conditions, and our club delivered an experience that many competitors have described as life-changing.
Yes.
So remember those words, life-changing. Sailors from around the world felt welcome, supported, and celebrated, and their feedback has been overwhelmingly positive.
That's really nice.
There's some more here. Nice photos, great stuff. Di Pearson writing nice prose for Sail World. Quote, many said that they've never experienced a regatta so well organized, so thoughtfully delivered, and so full of heart. Chris Mitchell, founder of the Hansa Sailing, summed up best when he said remember, he's the guy, Julie, that went around Australia, literally, southeastern Australia, and gathered up all those boats.
Oh, yeah.
He was the developer of the Hansa. He went and gathered the boats up, and they trailed them all in, got them set up, got them equalized. An amazing effort that they did. Led by Chris Mitchell, and summed up best when he said he'd never seen a Worlds run this well. That was pleasing to hear, the Commodore said. Quote, to the competitors, volunteers, and our incredible staff, thank you. Our over 80 volunteers worked tirelessly across all areas, and yet did so with smiles on their faces. They formed friendships and found joy in the experience. Again, that Di Pearson writing for sail-world.com. Nice stuff. Terrific event. Bravo Zulu to them. And just really, really nice stuff.
I was struck by the fact that we were talking about Mr. Hudson changed the time.
Mr. Hudson from Britain, who moved to New Zealand, became the father of the daylight savings time or summertime.
Yeah, Ken Hudson was Commodore of the Royal Prince Alfred through
50 years ago.
Yeah.
50 years ago. Is he still alive?
Yes.
You sure? Somebody in Australia will know whether Mr. Hudson, Commodore Hudson, is still alive.
He's been ill, so I could be weeks out of date.
Weeks? Okay. So moving ahead here smartly, this is John Emmett and his reportage for the day, his Coach's Corner, and the man of international mystery is once again on the move. From the Coaching Corner, Fozy John Emmett is, he says, unless this is also, watch the video carefully, unless this is also an April Fool's joke, Julia.
Oh, yes.
Hi, Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy. As you can probably guess, I'm in Shanghai. We've had a fantastic regatta, which is the Shanghai Sailing Open. They call it Shang Fantastic. They tried to get me to say quite a lot of this in Chinese, but I did struggle somewhat. just an amazing regatta. One of the things we need to do in terms of sailing is to make sailing a worldwide sport. So when you watch Sail GP, which I know a lot of us do, even if it's not everybody's cup of tea, they will often get 1,000 viewers on YouTube. I actually sent Tom the link for the Shanghai Open. On a normal middle of the day weekday, they were looking at 2,000, and my understanding is they actually hit 10,000 live views over the weekend. The opening ceremony, they had a concert, they had an opera, they had a full-on drone display where every single country had their name up in lights. And to be honest, it was better live commentary, not that I understand Chinese, than they have at the Olympic Games. And this is why it's so important, because there's a huge market out there in Asia. And ironically, they probably suffer with the same problems we used to have a few years ago, where sailing is very much seen as a rich man's sport, and they don't realise quite how easy it is to participate. Indeed, I think when Lily started sailing, her parents thought she was going windsurfing, and goodness knows what they thought when they saw an optimist for the first time. But the point is, these invitational regattas give everybody a multicultural experience. So I can't imagine another event where you get your flights paid in, appearance fees, and they take you for tours for the first couple of days to show off their culture and of course let you get over the jet lag. Having said that, the tours were pretty similar from this year and last year, and I think if I come next year, which I very much hope I will, I'm not sure I will go for my third tour of the Astrological Museum, unless there's any particular new planets or whatever found. But the welcome part is very important, just to get bums on the seat. So they invited 10 sailors, so there was 5 ILCA 6, 5 ILCA 7, and that meant obviously the regatta had over 10 nations. And we had some top sailors. We had people ranging from youth sailors to people who had actually done their Olympic campaigns and were possibly going to be retiring and moving on to other things. And we also had our third fleet, which was the J80s, which Lily was racing. So on Dishau Lake, I've probably said that wrong, but you can probably Google it and find out where we were. We had racing all day. So morning racing, and when I say morning, the start on the final day was 9 AM for the ILCAs, and then afternoon racing for the J80s. Now, of course, there's a steady progression. I think the J70 is a more modern, dare I say it, more fun boat, but just to get people out on the water and actually racing in a lake with relatively short courses, it makes racing very even because there just isn't that boat speed advantage you would expect. And I also hope that it will help the Chinese, because by having foreign sailors come to China, they will see the benefit of going to other regattas. Of course, arguably the biggest and possibly arguably the best is the Princess Sophia, which is going on at the moment. An amazingly fun regatta, and you'll see that it's actually called the Grand Slam now because of that change of involvement with World Sail Air. But this regatta, in my mind, really kicks off the 2028 Olympic season. And it's interesting, even at this stage, we're not entirely sure, I think, what the Olympic venues are for 2028 and 2032, despite some recent announcements. But the idea of doing these regattas is you have that opportunity to come and test yourself against really the best of the best. And that's why I say for young sailors within region, you know, budget and you know, fatigue, etc., just to try and do as many regattas as they possibly can.
Okay, that stopped a little unceremoniously, and I texted John back and didn't get a reply. So I don't know what time zone he's in, but I assume he is really in Shanghai. What do you think, Julia?
Yeah, it looks like it. That's a great garden.
It's a great garden, but maybe he recorded that in Melbourne with Alistair before he left Australia, and maybe he never even went to the UK. Who knows with John? He's
yes.
I'm starting to think he's really a spook, that he works for the
Yes.
the MI5 or MI6 or something in the UK, because the way he moves around the world. But that's John's report for today. John Emmett Sailing, get to the front of the fleet. We appreciate his reportage. And one of the things we keep pushing is to get parasailing reinstated for Brisbane 2032. We talked about that in our show number 805, and we're going to keep pushing that with at the tail end of every one of John's reports, and he helped pull that panel together, and we appreciate that very much indeed. Now, did you also hear him talk about the venues for 2028 and 2032?
For sailing.
For sailing,
yes.
The Olympic venues. I am more than a bit concerned about what's going on in SoCal, in Southern California, because, as you know, the venue for sailing has been announced for Long Beach.
Right.
And one hears that the LA City Council, for political reasons only, having nothing to do with what the sailors want, having nothing to do with what U.S. Sailing thinks, not that U.S. Sailing would go down there and assert themselves. They got bigger fish to fry and all sorts of problems. And not that they'd listen to what World Sailing thinks, or not that they would think about how great a regatta it was in 1984 in Long Beach. That is the Olympic Sailing
Yes.
Regatta.
Yes.
I hear that several people connected with the city council of LA have done a deal that, in return for other stuff that has nothing to do with sailing, in fact, probably nothing to do with the Olympics, they are going to move. They're going to cause the sailing regatta to be moved from Long Beach to as the Angelinos call it, San Pedro.
Yeah.
We'd
Didn't we
pronounce
see
it
that?
San Pedro.
We saw some printed stuff about
We
that.
have, and we've been sent some things. You and I both read it, and
Right.
others. And I am gathering up the people from SoCal, the proper people, to come on the show and tell us what is really going on. Because I, for one, feel absolutely, positively, 100%, that Long Beach is the place to run this event.
Absolutely.
The clubs will support it better there. The sailing will be better there. Living in Long Beach will be much better than living up in the Port of LA or in and around the Port of LA.
Yes.
And there's a big prison up there. Bruce Nelson, who's on the show, commenting earlier at least, he will remember training with Stars and Stripes up there, as will some others. And they just had the Sail GP regatta there, and you remember what it was like. It's just not a garden spot of the world. In fact, to be fair, it's an armpit of the world.
Yeah, and
armpit of Southern California.
Really hard to sail on that.
Well, it's sailable, but you got to go outside the breakwater. There's all sorts of logistical reasons. And if you ask any sailor where they'd rather sail, Long Beach or San Pedro, as the Angelinos call it, we pronounce it in Spanish, San Pedro. But
Ed Worley says here, the LA City Council are moving the sailing venue to San Pedro because they want the dollars.
Yeah, well, it is absurd, and it's ridiculous, because it should not be about the money. It should not be about granting political favors to what is a suburb of, it's not even a suburb of LA. It's part of the LA city.
Yeah.
It should be about yacht racing and what's best for sailing and sailors.
Right.
And again, the 1984 event was so good. It was so good in Long Beach that if this is allowed to move, if U.S. Sailing and World Sailing don't get on their frigging high horses right now and protest this and stop this, this will be the worst decision imaginable.
Yes.
Amy Bridge, it is ridiculous and not a place people want to visit. Amy, I don't know you well. I've seen your name before on here. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And there is Steve Frederick down in, a good friend of ours down at Balboa Yacht Club, saying the LA City Council has approved changes to the proposed venue plan for 2028 in the Olympic Games. Yes. Alistair Murray saying surely it will be Long Beach, and on and on and on. Thierry de Jong is thinking that the sailing will be split between LA and Long Beach. That's even a worse idea, I think, Thierry, if that's what they think they're going to do.
Too far.
So, nonetheless, it's a bad idea. It should be run in Long Beach. That is the 2028 Olympics, full stop. That's been the plans all along. That's what's the best for our sport. That's what leaves a legacy for our sport, because there are so many cool events in and around Long Beach, notwithstanding the Congressional Cup, the Olympic Classes regattas that both Long Beach Yacht Club, Alamitos Bay Yacht Club, and the other clubs up and down the shore run. This is substantially bad news if this happens. And I implore all of you who have any influence whatsoever, again, with your national authorities, with specifically U.S. Sailing and especially World Sailing, and any of you who have political clout in and around L.A. and the L.A. Basin, get on the horn now.
Yeah.
Julia.
And especially if you are familiar with the port and how inappropriate would
Well,
is.
exactly. But again, follow the money, as Josh Toso is saying. The
Right.
Port of LA has over $1 billion of backing. They got plenty of money. And it's a long commute. And no, Amy Bridge, this is not, I guarantee you, this is not an April Fool's joke.
Mhm.
Long Beach Alan Long had no problem in the fires. The fires are a long ways away. They were up way around the corner and
Yeah.
up in the Palisades and out to the east, out where my grandmother's sister has a house that her son now has, and actually her grandson now has, that burned down, and that was in Altadena,
Mhm.
just out next door to Pasadena. Stephen Frederick, Olympic history is woven into the fabric of Long Beach as it hosted rowing and sailing events in 32 and sailing, fencing, and archery in 84. Good point, Stephen.
Yes.
Absolutely right. So, guys and gals, Ed Worley is saying, I have sailed in San Pedro, not fun.
Yes, I have too.
No, you have too, for sure. The Vincent, there's John Sangmeister, who has been one of the key guys behind getting it and keeping it in Long Beach. The Vincent Thomas Bridge will be closed. The idea they're going to have a big windfall of spectator pain to watch. What? This is a fool's errand. Well, John knows that's the case. We cannot, Commodores and ladies and gentlemen, we cannot let this happen. And if World Sailing doesn't get on their political horse right now, last week, a month ago, and if the whole sailing community, the yacht racing community in SoCal and beyond, and all of you connected with your national authorities around the world, make it happen to keep it in Long Beach.
Yes.
Don't let the politicos in LA. You know what a terribly run city, I'm sorry to say this, in Los Angeles. They can't keep their fire hydrants with water in them. They can't keep their fire department working. It's just, the mayor is off in Africa when the city is burning, literally, when she'd been warned over and over again that they had the Santa Ana fire condition coming. Yeah. We all know about Santa Ana fires. We know about fires up here.
Yeah.
Right? Anyway, okay, I've ranted enough about it, and I'm going to rant some more.
Yeah, I think that's important that we do that.
Indeed. Okay, now speaking of Olympics, that cool event, the kickoff really for this current quadrennium after a quiet winter, is going on. Gordon Smith says perhaps Trump wants to raise revenue by having it sailed back and forth to Mexico. Ka-ching. Okay, Gordon. But there is racing going on now in Palma, as John Emmett reported in his Coach's Corner. And as another good article has come out, not any number of articles, but that started, I believe, yesterday, and it runs through the week. It's the hugely successful, very popular Trofeo Princesa Sofia. It's in Palma and Mallorca. And this is the 54th edition of that Olympic Classes Regatta, and it runs the 28th. So it's been going for a few days through April 5th. And here is the first video we found. This is the World Sailing Kickoff video. Welcome to Palma and Mallorca.
The first picture background looked like a movie set.
Oh, it is. The palace.
Yeah.
The summer home for His Majesty.
Yeah.
A nice video. And I don't like vertical videos, but the kids do today. And this regatta is a big deal. And the U.S. has sent a team. Alistair Murray has sent me a big, nice, I put it on my Facebook page, really nice promotion for all the sailors they've got there. There's a huge turnout from the various countries, Great Britain and all the Olympic countries, of course. In an article called The Proving Ground by Mark Jardine, that is up on Sail World. I'll take a few paragraphs from that. The end of an Olympic quadrennial cycle often brings sailing campaigns to an end. Some partnerships and double-handed classes. We're going to stop calling them double-handed and call them doubles, right? Didn't we decide that in the last show? Singles, doubles, triples, sixes, eights, like the rowers do. I did better than two-person classes. Partnerships in double classes split, with helm and crew going their separate ways, while others use the time to reflect on their future. And they've got, as I said, a big turnout. And Mark is saying in his article, after a quiet winter post Paris 2024, the first of the big events of 2025 is the 54th. It's hard to believe it's been going on for 54 years. 54th Trofeo Princesa Sofia Mallorca by Fergus. It's a mouthful, in English or Spanish. Palma is alive with new teams and exciting young sailors, probably excited new sailors too, young sailors, who are setting their sights on Olympic glory. Campaigns are long, arduous, and will go through many highs and lows in the next 4 years. But this is where we will first see the new talent take on the established sailors. Unfamiliar names will emerge on the leaderboards who become the ones to watch. And national team managers will see who can take the next steps from promising talent to medal potential. Now get this, all 10 Olympic classes are competing. By the way, they had an offshore event last week. All 10 Olympic classes are competing with a staggering 174 entries in the men's ILCA 7 class.
Wow.
That'll warm the cockles of John's heart.
I know.
Maybe he's really there. Maybe he's not in Shanghai at all. On the down low, helping coach somebody he doesn't want us to know he's coaching. 111 in the men's IQ foil. 111 in the men's IQ foil. 92 in the 49er, and 52 in the men's Formula kite. That's Mark Jardine writing for Sail World. We got a lot of quotes from sailworld.com today. Here's a video. Come back to you, Julie, in a moment.
It's the 54th edition of Trofeo Princesa Sofia, and day one we have absolutely perfect conditions. Great wind, great sunshine here in Palma, Mallorca. Today we put a special focus on Formula Kite.
On the kite men, in third place and doing really well, we have Wojtek Koska. In first position, we have Olympic bronze medalist and reigning world champion Max Mader. And second place, gold medalist Valentin Bontus.
It's cool to be back with everyone in the fleet, and especially here in Palma. It's always been a really nice competition. I feel great, and I had a decent day, and I'm happy with my results.
Now in the women, a bit of a surprise, because people have been wondering what have the Chinese been up to over the last 6 months. Holding the top 3 places, 3 Chinese riders, Si Wang, Wan Li and Jingle Chen. And just to give you a sense of the quality, down in 5th place, reigning Olympic champion from Great Britain, Ellie Aldridge.
This is kind of me just getting back into it, just trying to enjoy it again and just see where I'm at and see the direction that the sport's going.
And here are the leaders for all 10 events for the 54th Trofeo Princesa Sofia Mallorca by Fergus Hotels.
Racing continues on Tuesday. We'll see you tomorrow.
Nice video. You were going to say?
I love the name. The name is Sophia.
You know who Princesa Sophia is? Her Royal Highness.
I don't.
She's one of the daughters, also a sailor.
Oh,
good sailor.
Juan Carlos?
Of Juan Carlos, the sister of the current king. She's a nice lady, and her kids are sailors, and on and on.
Oh, nice.
And that's after whom the regatta is named. Now, a question here. Let's see if there's anything we go back on. Julia, it's time to remind everybody to go back and read the comments, because there's so many great comments.
Oh, there are.
Especially with this April Fool's stuff going on. There's some problems. Clark's right, I think. He says, to me, one of the problems with kite foiling is that the kites are visually so disconnected from the boards. At least in the 49ers, the spinnakers have big national flags, so you can tell who is who. I really think this is the last go-around for kites, and I think we're going to see next time we're going to see wing foils. They'll hold them down here. You see the wing, you see the board, you see the sailor, all in one, all in frame, all in the shot. And that part of the sport, that part of our sport, is growing like topsy, and the kites are dangerous and scary and expensive and so on. I think it's probably the end of kite foiling in the Olympics after maybe 2032. Maybe they'll go one more, but I agree with Clark on that point. And they're talking about the Olympics back here. There was a yacht called Angelita, which was what, a 6 meter? Was it a 6 or an 8? I think it was a 6 meter. Did that win the first medal in yachting for the U.S. or just a medal for yachting in the U.S.? Clayton Embley is saying in 1932. And by the way, the late great Peter Uberoth, who ran the '84 Olympics, he grabbed that boat, Angelita, had it completely redone, and then it was his. What do you call it? It was his not mothership. It was his.
Trophy. No.
Well, he took people sailing on it. Not that he did a bit of sailing, I remember, but they had that boat around for the '84 Olympics, and it was in beautiful condition. And he'd redone that with his own money and kept that boat as a legacy. I don't know where it is now. 6 meter, Ed Worley is saying, yeah. Now, Gordon Smith also asked the question, have the U.S. sailing got their squad in Palma, such an important event on the yearly preparation cycle? And yes, they do. And Julia, another rant here, because as I said, I posted on my Facebook page the other day, I posted this very nice piece from Australian Sailing that Alistair had sent up. And he's no longer the president, but he's very involved.
Right.
And their federation is going from strength to strength. Their Australian Sailing team has its own website page, or at least part of the main website. It's very simple, very clean, very clear. It's beautifully done. And of course, Bo Outeridge, Nathan's brother, continues to travel with the team. I don't know if he's in Palma now or not. I hope he is. Continues to take photos, videos on behalf of Australian Sailing, on behalf of the sailing team, puts it up in social media and on the website and sends out press releases to all of us. And it's fantastic. And they did a nice, here's our team going over there. It's really the start of the cycle, yada, yada, yada. And the Brits did the same thing. Really nice piece. And I'm sure other countries did as well, as I said at the top of this segment. Mm-hmm. But what you will find is that, and I said when I posted Alistair's piece on my Facebook page, I said, I wonder what the Americans are doing. Yeah. And 2 days later, they sent out a piece after the regatta was already going. Mm-hmm. And it was okay. It was a nice piece. Yeah. Saying what are the names of our sailors that are there and so on and so forth. But then one hears, and this is no April Fool's joke, one hears, and I have seen, okay, let me back up. You know that U.S. Sailing doesn't have a pot to piss in, and they have no money. They can barely make their payroll. They're trying to get it back together. But in the meantime, the so-called stakeholders, which are the New York Sailing Foundation, which is a sister organization of the New York Yacht, it's separate, completely separate. But that organization, Oak Cliff, the St. Francis Sailing Foundation, and the Schoonmaker, Ding Schoonmaker's Legacy Foundation that's run by Tracy, by his widow, and others. They're the ones, and of course, America One Racing, which is Paul Cahart and the group here that was the legacy from the 2000 America's Cup campaign that you and I were involved with. That's where the real money is. And that's the organization, the groups, the so-called stakeholders who are supporting our Olympic sailors in Palma. You think there's a single mention in the U.S. Sailing press release about the funding and where it's coming from for our team in Palma? Zippo. And I have seen letters, emails to U.S. Sailing that and they're well found. I mean, I'm not surprised. But I tell you what, they are sharp and should be. Because once again, U.S. Sailing has dropped the ball. Instead of celebrating the support from all these other organizations, we, for example, just had our deal over here at St. Francis last week for the foundation, the big annual fundraising gala, at which all of us give and receive and so on and so forth. I haven't done it in a few years, but I've contributed, bought things at that auction. You've bought things at that auction. We have here at the Beach Street Yacht Club. Our wine cooler came from that auction. I spent $5,000 one year to buy a wine cooler.
I couldn't believe that. But
for the Beach Street Yacht Club.
Yeah.
And it was full of wine, thank God. And this happened last week, and they raised a record. Another record amount. Paul was the guest host auctioneer, whatever he was, celebrity auctioneer. And I know that Vice Commodore Harrington has a meeting, or had already a meeting today, about the Golden Spinnaker Ball, which is another gala that New York Yacht Club puts on every quadrennium, and they're getting that organized. They raise a pile of money. And U.S. Sailing has either the lack of common sense or the lack of cojones or whatever to give this group any credit whatsoever. So U.S. Sailing, come to your senses and give credit where credit is due. And no, I did not tee that up with Gordon Smith to get him to ask that question, but it is true. What else? There are not many Americans in Palma, Claire Harrington is saying, speaking of the Vice Commodore. The individuals who did go did not do too terribly well so far. Okay. Yeah, it was an 8-meter, not a 6-meter, Clay Embley is saying. First gold. Okay, it was the first American gold medal in the Olympics back in 1932, won by that boat. And the flagship was indeed the word I was looking for. Thank you, everybody. It's nice to have smart people on here.
It is.
Owen Churchill, John Sangmeister reminds us, he was the one who steered that boat and won the medal. I'm always nervous when kites do mark roundings, also for the guy who is manning the Mark Stingray said. Alistair Murray, I spent virtually all my time at the Marseille Olympics with Bo Outeridge, a very dedicated, talented young man. And of course, yes, he's Nathan's brother and a superb sailor in his own right, and a neighbor of Jody Shields.
Oh, that's right.
They're all up there on Lake Macquarie, right?
Yeah.
And thanks, Gordon Smith. No, I didn't square him up to ask that question, but now I know how to get a rise out of him.
Yes.
That's true. Okay, come within hail. We're an hour and 17 minutes into today's show. We'll get to the tidbits here from various places in our sport. This is a piece of news that SailGP's Fast and Furious Racing is going to return to UK waters for the highly anticipated Emirates Great Britain Sail Grand Prix in Portsmouth on July 19th, 20th. So it's going to be in Portsmouth, not in Plymouth. This is great news. It's not new news. We've known about it, but we haven't really celebrated it. Get ready for the new location of Portsmouth, a port city steeped in British maritime history, which will see Dylan Fletcher's home team, Emirates GBR, gunning for victory in front of a packed shoreside crowd. You can get tickets, get them while you can. Here's a little video promo for that event coming up in July. As Ed Worley is saying, we hope that the boats hold together through to July, because they're obviously got some structural problems. But I think they're no doubt, Russell's hard at it, getting everything reassessed, the wings, the hulls, everything,
right, and
be sure things are after what happened here last weekend. But there's more news. Apropos keeping the boats together, and they have the L foils, and now they got the T foils.
Right.
For this regatta, by the middle of July, they're going to a new set of foils called the P foils. No joke. So here is that breaking news. In fact, I got to set it up. First, this on the sail, actually on the Emirates JBR Sail Grand Prix Facebook page. Breaking new cutting-edge P-foil set to be used across the fleet at the Emirates Great Britain Sail. Remember, they build the boats now in England. They've got their build facility up there, so it's easier to do it up there. Secure your place, buy tickets, but they're going to see that foil, these P-foils?
Yeah.
How cool is that? Well, that's what they're going to be doing. And here is a comment I saw on their Facebook page. Can anybody create a nice video explaining why this new hydrofoil shape will be better than the classic ones or than the T-foils that they're now using? So that's new. I don't have a video for this, but I think that's pretty interesting news that they're going to P-foils
Yes.
for Portsmouth. Okay, now one of our favorite supporters of our beloved sport, Rolex. Do you realize that it was 1967? Stephen Frederick will like this piece. That was the launch of the hugely popular and successful Rolex Sea Dweller.
Yep.
Say that 5 times.
Yes, yes.
Sea Dweller was in 1967. And now they are launching a new watch called the Land Dweller. And the best thing about Rolex's biggest watch in a generation has nothing to do with looks. Here's the video. The Land Dweller. And it's being introduced apparently in Geneva this week at their big watch convention there. Beautiful watch.
I was going to
isn't
say
it?
it's a beauty.
So I have a Fosy Pole, Julia.
Yes.
Yes, a Fosy Pole now.
Okay.
Would you, we haven't done a Fosy Pole in a while, would you buy a Land Dweller as opposed to a Sea Dweller? Do you think the Land Dweller will be more popular?
There are more land dwellers than sea dwellers.
You think? But Rolex's whole thing, you know, the Seamaster, the Sea Dweller, the Submariner, that's what mine is. So the Fosy Pole, and I ask you, will the Land Dweller outsell the Submariner and the Seamaster? The Sea Dweller?
Sea dweller.
Well, all of this has been their raison d'etre. This has been their brand. It's a really quite a difference change from their brand. What do you think?
I think they're trying to expand it.
Clark Chapin's asking if the Land Dweller is it waterproof.
I know.
Huh?
Of course.
I think it's appropriate. They launched this video today. They got a 1 right there on the clock too.
It's gorgeous.
Ted Ryman says he had a Sea Dweller. They have a pressure valve for deep diving. No magnifying glass either. That's true. No magnifying glass on the date. Well, we'll see. That'll be an interesting question, what the popularity will be of the new Rolex Land Dweller. Is it?
Yeah.
No way will it outsell the Submariner or the Sea Dweller, is what Ryman is saying. No, I'm sticking by Submariner and GMT Master. He's got 2, Clayton Embley is saying. It's never going to outsell the biblical watches. I don't know, gorgeous watch, but I prefer my Yacht Master. There's another sea-oriented Rolex watch, beautiful, that Claire Harrington has.
Yes, it is.
Okay, we'll see. So you think it will because there's more land dwellers than sea dwellers?
Yeah, but it's not nearly as romantic.
No, it's not. We'll see. Yeah, taxi driving through a puddle spray is a spray proof on your wrist. Beautiful watch, though.
Really is.
We shall see. Okay, next bit of news here in our Code Flag L Come Within Hail is apropos this catastrophe, as you would say in certain other languages.
Yeah.
The catastrophe here last weekend when the rig came down on the Australian boat. Apparently, they are changing the name of their team from the Flying, they think it's bad luck or something, the Flying Ruse. They're going to change it to the Bin Chickens. Australia unveils a new team identity. This came out on their socials over the last couple of days. I had to look to see what a bin chicken was. And indeed, it's a very popular bird. You know what that is?
Looks like a sea piper.
It's an ibis.
An ibis.
The ibis has become a popular symbol of Australian identity and has been depicted on television, in art, and in online memes. In March 2021, the Macquarie Dictionary blog chose bin chicken, because apparently these things go dumpster diving a lot, the bin chicken as an Australian word of the week, and wrote that it was potentially competing with the kangaroo for the position of the most iconic Australian animal.
Mm-hmm.
In 1989, the municipality of Hunters Hill on Sydney Harbour adopted a coat of arms granted by the College of Arms, which features 2 ibis birds as supporters. So the team, that's apparently another one of the reasons why the team has changed their name, and here is a supporting video.
The Australian bin chicken. Scientists have now confirmed what many Australians have believed for decades. The species has evolved into a superior scavenger. The bin chicken has adapted to feed on a never-ending food source, a meal fit for a king. The bin chicken's vocabulary has evolved too, enabling it to effortlessly communicate with the city traffic. A hard day of dumpster diving has paid off. This cocktail will keep this demanding chick satisfied for the next 10 minutes. The bin chickens will most likely become the dominant life form. It will then be Planet Bin Chicken.
Planet Bin.
I, for one, welcome our feathered overlords.
I think that's lovely.
Isn't that great? And Alistair says that they are unbelievable at opening the lids of rubbish. Russian, where did I get that? Rubbish bins.
Yeah.
So I don't know where that's coming from, but wait, there's more SailGP news too, and that is you hear about. Remember when Rockwell hit with their T-foil rather,
Right.
hit the buoy, hit the mark,
Right.
and cracked, I don't know, the centerboard, the dagger foil case, and broke, damaged their foil on the port side so badly that the boat could not race even here. They only had to sit out the rest of LA, but then they weren't available to race here, and the Canadians kindly took on Rockwell, their branding for their sponsor, to give them some visibility here at the San Francisco event. Well, here's the video of that happening, by the way.
Much faster on your feet and fly
Remember
by
this?
and see if your pants racing.
Here we go. It's interesting right now, I think, is we got Australia still in 11th. They've closed up a bit, but Rockwell, Denmark.
So that was a hell of a big crack that they had.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, SailGP has come out with a video to show us how they position those marks. Because remember, those are robo marks.
Yeah.
They're robotic marks. And here is that video.
Welcome to the Rolex Sail Grand Prix.
In the high-stakes world of SailGP,
It's 5 wide around Mark 1.
where fractions of a second separate victory from defeat,
Too far, it's going to crash.
there exists a silent hero, a steadfast guardian, who has witnessed it all. This is the story of a Mark. No, not that Mark. This Mark. Meet Mark, the MarkBot driver. Behind every perfect turn lies the unwavering dedication of the last SailGP Mark driver.
Oh, it's tight. No room in there for Germany. Germany must keep clear. Germany must keep clear. Whoa! The Germans missed the mark.
Hold on. Poor Mark's having a tough day out there with these boats.
Next time, tell him not to get so close.
Well, he really does put his neck on the line for this sport, Stevie.
People think I'm just floating out there, you know. I'm not just sitting around out there. I'm constantly adjusting for tides, wind shifts, and, well, dodging boats that get a little bit too close. I get a lot of hits, literally.
Welcome to the ITM New Zealand Sail Grand Prix here in Christchurch.
Hey, Mark.
Oh, hey, Lisa.
Good luck out there today. Keep your eyes on the water.
You have a good one, too. It was rough. 1 second, I'm standing strong. And then...
Race HQ to Mark, do you copy? Race HQ to Mark, do you copy?
Oh, in leg 2 and we see the finish line, Mark. It's very tight. The teams will have to navigate them carefully.
Attention, boats incoming.
The Aussies come flying in.
Oh, watch out, Australia! They're in a collision course towards the mark!
Race HQ to Mark, do you copy? Mark, do you copy?
It's like they got a magnet for me.
Despite the risks, Mark remains undeterred, driven by a sense of purpose.
It's not just a job. It's a calling, a vocation.
Mark has been with Sail GP since the beginning, a stalwart presence at every turn. But few understand the challenges of his role.
Ready? Mark ready.
Copy that. Mark head now.
It's all about precision. One wrong move, and the whole race could be thrown off.
Have a great day out there, Mark.
See ya. Pressure. It's real. Someone's got to do it.
Mark, the unsung and unseen hero of Sail GP.
Right.
Proving that even the smallest roles can make the biggest impact.
Now, you got to admit, there's some time and effort and money spent on that video.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Bravo Zoo to Sail GP for that one. Chris Fury asking, is he a member of BIMBO, the Brotherhood of International Mark Boat
Must be.
Operators? Okay, that's our Come Within Hail for today. Our just quickie segments. Some are correct and some are Croutonic, as you no doubt could tell. Julia, what happened on this day in history?
Oh, my goodness.
The 1st of April.
Lots of things happened.
What happened on this day in history? And we have no idea what day this happened on, but here's the video.
April Fool's Day, or All Fool's Day, is the one day of the year when you are allowed to mercilessly prank your friends, family, and coworkers. How exactly did this day come about? We don't actually know for sure what started the celebration of April Fool's Day. References can be found as early as the 1500s, but these accounts are infrequent and not very detailed. The most popular theory is that it began around 1582 in France during the Reformation of the calendar. Before France adopted the Gregorian calendar, they celebrated New Year's for 8 days, beginning on March 25th and ending on April 1st. When they switched calendar systems, the 8th day moved from April 1st to January 1st. Because they didn't have internet, phones, social media, and a mail system, a lot of people didn't hear about this change until years later. Those that did not hear about the change continued to celebrate New Year's in April. Others refused to celebrate it out of rebellion. Those that had been informed of the change and adjusted their calendars began to make fun of these fools who were uninformed or rebellious. This harassment evolved into a tradition of playing pranks on the first day of April and then spread to other countries. However, April Fool's Day was already established in England, which didn't switch calendar systems until 1752. Also, people were already engaging in pranks and lightheartedness around this time of year, long before the French switched their calendar systems, such as in the case of the ancient Roman festival of Hilaria. Modern celebrations of April Fool's Day have slightly different traditions depending on the country you are in, but they all have the similar theme of pranking or humiliating individuals. In France, they try to tape an image of a fish to your back without you noticing, and in Portugal, they throw flour at you. In England, you are only supposed to pull jokes until noon, and if you pull a joke after noon, you are called an April Fool. In the United States and Britain, even popular media outlets and companies have been known to get involved in the fun. In 1996, Taco Bell announced that it had purchased the Liberty Bell from the city of Philadelphia and was going to rename it the Taco Liberty Bell. In 1992, NPR claimed that Richard Nixon would be running again for president. British publication The Guardian famously pranked the public in 1977 when they said that a semicolon-shaped island in the Indian Ocean had been discovered. This hoax is credited for launching the trend of April Fool's Day pranks by British tabloids. So hopefully you now know a little more about the history of April Fool's Day, or at least what we think the history of it is.
Was that just one big April Fool's joke, or is any of that true?
I think that when they changed calendars,
The Gregorian calendar in France? Yeah. You think that, well, you went to Stanford, you would know that sort of stuff. They never taught us that at Michigan. We were.
I had to figure it out myself.
You know what April 1st is? Clark Chapin will know this. Joe Holtzman, some of the other Michiganders will know. for years, back before pot was legal, on April 1st, in the quad, the central quadrangle on main campus at Ann Arbor, they had a thing called the Hash Bash on April 1st. And I never participated, let alone inhaled. I never participated. I didn't even walk by there because you'd get a contact high, but it was hash and pot, THC. And they had and the city stayed away, didn't arrest anybody, and it was just a big sit-in, and it turned into more and more and more. I don't know if that still goes on. Clark, you'll have to tell us if the Hash Bash on April 1st still goes on in Ann Arbor, Michigan, on the central quad, at the University of Michigan.
Went to April.
April 1st. April
20th.
Fools. No, it was always on at 420. You're thinking of 420 being, that's a whole nother issue. But it was.
But isn't that the same?
Yeah, 420 means pot.
Yeah.
That's the pot day.
Yeah.
And that's a whole, wow, I'm impressed, Julia. When was the last time you smoked pot?
I didn't.
You didn't?
No.
Never did? No wonder you're living so long.
I had 3 drags and 3 different things, and it didn't do anything. And so I said,
same for me. But anyway, I don't know if that video is true or not. Is it true? I have one more question. Is it true that in the UK, you only prank up till midday, and if you prank after that, you're a crouton? You're not supposed to prank in GBR after midday in the UK?
Yeah, that's what they said.
I'd never heard of that.
No.
So I don't know if that's a prank too. Okay, now that the quad is weed free, but the rest of the city is high, and now the quad is. Yeah, it's probably true, Mark Holland. Okay, enough of all this madness. This is March Madness and April Madness. Gets us to the last leg with, we're only an hour and 36 minutes into the show. If you remember the 60s, you weren't there. Ted Ryman got married on April 1st, 17 years ago today. Happy anniversary, Ted.
Yes, indeed.
Congratulations. And somebody pointed out, was it the Hash Bash? Clark knew about that. That Apple Computer was, Clay Embley was saying Apple Computer was founded on April 1st. He did that. Steve Jobs did that as a bit of a joke. He and, what was Wozniak's first name?
Steve.
No, Steve Wozniak? Steve Jobs. Were they both Steve?
Oh.
Whatever, Mr. Wozniak, who was the co-founder. Okay, we're to the last leg, Julia. The last leg to Gloucester. Oh, the comments are rolling in. We've had hundreds of comments again today. Yes, only before noon, Gordon Smith is saying. You only prank until noon, and Alistair is confirming that's true in Australia. Only pranks until midday. And, Clark is saying the Hash Bash this year is on, he must have Googled, it's on April 5th. They must have moved it to the weekend. Same in Canada. Maura Stevens, hi, Maura, is you only prank till noon in Canada. After midday, you are the fool if you prank someone, Ryman is saying. Of course, a Brit living in Cape Town. What if you're in GBR and don't know the new correct time? Well, it's 21:38 UTC, but it's an hour later in England. But one never knows if they're going to change the clocks this weekend in Australia and New Zealand. I should say that was not correct. That was Croutonic. I did that at the top of the show and see if anybody caught that. Gladwell immediately got it. So, we're changing our clocks this weekend. The last leg. I have a Fozzie Focus for you here on the last leg. This is an interesting one, apropos today, but apropos the new Green Deal and everybody trying to be environmentally more conscious. So one of our Fozzie and all the stuff you're seeing about big ships with rigging and sails and so on. This is one of the Kentucky ferries called Valley View Ferry. And they have, as part of their commitment to this from their Facebook page, to keep our operational costs down, we are now converting to sail power during non-rush hour periods. So we would like to, I just think it's a nice piece of news here for our end of our show here. We would like to thank our friends at North Sails in Annapolis, Maryland, for our new sail. Our deck crew is learning the fine art of sail trim, and we are predicting that our transit times, this is a ferry system on the Kentucky lakes and rivers there, will actually be faster on windy days, especially after they put up this new mast. They've got this has been so successful that they're putting up a new rig and bigger sails to save fuel and apparently for even being quicker with or without the engine up and down the rivers and across, going across the rivers. So that came from our Fosey Clayton Emily, hence our Fosey focus for today.
And it's bourbon.
Well, and it's
Kentucky.
bourbon. We haven't poured you into your bourbon yet.
Oh, I'm all right.
And by the way, this was one of the comments I saw on his Facebook page when he announced this. I will not ride again. I'm tired of this liberal crap.
What's he riding?
He says, I'm not going to ride the ferries anymore now
ferry.
that you're using sails to try to cut down the green, make it more greener and make, cut down. And Chris Ferry's asking if the passengers will have to hike. I kid you not. This was really a funny Facebook post that Clayton did, and you should go back. I read the comments this morning, and more than once I was, I'm here by myself in my bathrobe putting the finishing touches on the show in the mornings. I more than, you probably heard me laugh upstairs in the Commodore suite. I laughed out loud.
I did hear you once.
I was just, there's some comments that are just precious, not just this one. I'm tired of this liberal crap. Looks like a foiler. Well, I don't know about that. Finally, in the last leg, I thought this was a good time to run this BBC. What is arguably the greatest April Fool's prank, at least video prank of all time. This dates, by the way, from 1957 when the BBC ran this. And I like it because they're talking really about Switzerland, not about just Italy, but in Switzerland, in Ticino, which is where Lake Lugano is, which is where Meg, the town of Lugano, Lago di Lugano, which is where Meg went to college. So I think maybe she learned about this while she was there at uni in Switzerland back in the day.
It isn't only in Britain that spring this year has taken everyone by surprise. Here, in the Ticino, on the borders of Switzerland and Italy, the slopes overlooking Lake Lugano have already burst into flower, at least a fortnight earlier than usual. But what, you may ask, has the early and welcome arrival of bees and blossom to do with food? Well, it's simply that the past winter, one of the mildest in living memory, has had its effect in other ways as well. Most important of all, it's resulted in an exceptionally heavy spaghetti crop. The last 2 weeks of March are an anxious time for the spaghetti farmer. There's always the chance of a late frost, which, while not entirely ruining the crop, generally impairs the flavor and makes it difficult for him to obtain top prices in world markets. But now these dangers are over, and the spaghetti harvest goes forward. Spaghetti cultivation here in Switzerland is not, of course, carried out on anything like the tremendous scale of the Italian industry. Many of you, I'm sure, will have seen pictures of the vast spaghetti plantations in the Po Valley. For the Swiss, however, it tends to be more of a family affair. Another reason why this may be a bumper year lies in the virtual disappearance of the spaghetti weevil, the tiny creature whose depredations have caused much concern in the past. After picking, the spaghetti is laid out to dry in the warm alpine sun. Many people are often puzzled by the fact that spaghetti is produced at such uniform length, but this is the result of many years of patient endeavor by plant breeders who've succeeded in producing the perfect spaghetti. And now, the harvest is marked by a traditional meal. Toasts to the new crop are drunk in these poccolinos, and then the waiters enter bearing the ceremonial dish. And it is, of course, spaghetti, picked earlier in the day, dried in the sun, and so brought fresh from garden to table at the very peak of condition. For those who love this dish, there's nothing like real homegrown spaghetti.
I still get a laugh. And that's why I know we ran a show on an April Fool's show on either Tuesday or Friday, because I remember using that video in that show. And
I love the English accent because it delivers authenticity to
exactly. Uniform length. Perfectly done, Gordon Smith. Alistair saying great BBC voice.
Yeah.
How do they grow ravioli? Alan Long wants to know. Okay, that's great. And again, apropos, it's still, sailing oriented. Lago di Lugano, which is next to Como and Garda.
Yeah.
It's not as big as those two lakes and not as a famously good sailing lake as is Garda, of course, which is much bigger. And they've got the northerly breeze and the southerly breeze.
Right.
But there's quite a cool yacht club. They made Meg an honorary member there. I think we wandered down there one day when I was up at her uni there at Franklin University in Lugano. And we wandered down to the club, and it's a big, John Emmett would like, a big laser club. And a lot of Ilkas there. And it's pretty light. That club, the lake is pretty light, and it's very shifty, typical, big lake in the Alpine Lakes conditions. But a fantastic club. Reminded me very much of, say, the Richmond Yacht Club across the bay. It's small boat oriented and a lot of fun, and people are so nice and so gracious. In Lugano, in the part of Switzerland called Ticino, the southern part where they speak Italian rather, in Italia, in Suiza. Okay, this is the conclusion of our April Fool's Day show. And again, you'll have to go through and figure out which were correct and which were Croutonic. I'm sure most of you have a pretty good idea. Ted Ryman says, we have a macaroni bush in our garden. I won't touch that one, Ted. Look at the noggin on that guy Banner was saying. What were you saying, Julia?
Yeah. Alan Long replies, Ted Ryman has a cheddar treat down the lane.
It makes me hungry. I haven't had the good spaghetti meatballs in a long time. Depredations of the Spaghetti Weevil was wonderfully convincing. I like all the pizza trees in Naples. Stingray, for one. I talked to Stingray yesterday. He's hoping that the America's Cup goes to Naples. His father was a beluga. I don't know about all that. Okay, that's pretty much it for our show number 821, except for Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. Of course, we always like to end the show on an upbeat note, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, and we have but one today. I didn't really know how long this show would run. And this courtesy of one of our Fozy, who said, April 1 is named Fool's Day, apostrophe S, not S apostrophe, after Steve April. He was born on the 1st of April, 1579. He did 105 businesses in his lifetime. He lost all of his father's assets, and so everyone started calling him Father of the Fools. Back about the same time, that video we showed, Julia.
Yes.
At 19, he married a 61-year-old woman who divorced him after a year because of his foolishness. He used to read all kinds of fake stories like you are doing now.
Yes.
That from Ryman, that is the cleanest one yet. The one he sent last Friday was clean, and this one's even cleaner, I think.
Wow.
But I thought it was a perfect.
It's his anniversary today.
And his anniversary. Happy anniversary again, Ted. And a perfect way to wrap up the show number 821. We are to the finish line, Julia, and you like to say...
Oh, what a wonderful day to like, follow, and share.
Indeed. And comments are welcome, even in replay, as we always say. Amy Bridge is saying, ha, 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 ha. Virginia Tech has the abroad architecture program in Riva San Vitale, right there in Ticino and Lake Lugano. I didn't know that. Okay, interesting. Yeah, it's a beautiful part of the world. Meg was so lucky to have gone there, Julia. Franklin University is not as auspicious as Stanford, and it's not as kind of large with a big graduate program like Michigan is.
Oh, but it's super.
But it's super.
It is.
It was super. I think even better.
The education there is much broader and much deeper.
Well, and she only went to school in Europe.
Yeah.
And came away speaking 4 languages. So for a simple kid from San Diego, where she was born, that's not too bad. In any event, it's great. And we appreciate all of you. Your comments are welcome, as I was just saying, even in replay. We super appreciate those of you who support us via Patreon or send us a bottle of booze or a check in the mail. Patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated to help keep us on the air, keep our streaming fees paid, which go up and up with each passing month. Thanks very much for your support. Thank you also to the folks who have given us, the entities, the magazines, the photographers, all of the visuals and the audio for today's show. There's the list. Julia, final thoughts on this April Fool's Day?
Not really. I wondered why the cockpit floor is famous for making spaghetti.
What is that comment about?
I don't know.
Thanks for all your comments about, yeah, that was John Harper. I wonder the cockpit floor is famous for making spaghetti. Clark Chapin says the point to enrolling in any educational institution is whether it helps you get to the next step in your life. Yep. The lesser of two evils. That's some, okay, Andrew, Mickey, Andrew liked the show today too. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much for tuning in. We hope you have a great rest of your week. We hope to see you on Friday, same time, same channel. In the meantime, sail fast, sail safe, and have fun. Ciao for now. Oh, the cockpit floor, because it's a tangled mess of lines of ropes on the floor. Okay, I get it. Good. Clever. Thank you. Spaghetti is in control lines. Thank you, everybody.